Hi, Cindy here, and I have a little story that I would like to share with you, something that happened on my anniversary trip to Alberta and BC last week. So yeah, we're back. We had a phenomenal trip. It was amazing. The weather was awesome. We did so many amazing things. We went on a quad up to the top of a mountain. We rented a motorcycle in Jasper. We rented scooters. I went on a river raft trip. We did the gondola. We had an amazing time. It was an incredible week. And something magical and special happened while I was there too. Now, this story is going to involve not details, but there is a sexual assault that I experienced when I was 7, and that is part of this story, as well as menstruation. So if that's going to bother you, you might want to scroll on by or not watch this story. So yeah, when I was 7, I experienced an assault, and I went through a process in my 20s during my spiritual journey where I forgave the person involved in this, and I thought I was done. Until the pandemic hit, until we were forced to wear masks. And then all of this trauma that was trapped in my body came bubbling up to the surface in an explosive way. And it was extremely challenging, but at least I was aware where this was coming from, and I was able to work through it and heal it. It took about a year and a half for me to no longer react physically to wearing a mask. It was extremely difficult. And the first time that I had to wear one to go grocery shopping, the rage that came through my body was unbelievable. But I'm just grateful that I recognized where it was coming from and that I had to walk through that to heal it. We can't heal our traumas by avoiding our triggers. We have to walk through that pain. And so I did, and I walked through it, and like I said, it took about a year and a half before I was able to not react to wearing a mask. So again, I kind of thought I was done with that until this week on our anniversary trip. So I started menstruating. I hadn't had a cycle in 6 months because I'm at that age. So it had been 6 months. A week before we left on our trip, I started, and all week I was like, oh, thank you that this is happening now and not on my trip. No, it continued, and it was not pleasant. And yeah, so we went up the gondola and everything, but there were a lot of necessary visits to the washroom because I don't use tampons. I never have. They have always felt icky to me on a huge level, and I never understood why I never made that connection. I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous now, it sounds so obvious now, but I truly didn't. Now, that's also because my memory of the incident did not involve penetration, but during the pandemic, I had a few flashes that led me to believe that perhaps there was more to that story than I remembered. So, yeah. So we're on our trip, and now my husband wants to go on this quad ride up to the top of the mountain. It's a 3-hour trip. I'm on the back of a quad. There are no washrooms. This is not going to happen unless I use a tampon. So, and this is how revolted I was to the idea. I just don't. I mean, I think in my entire life, I've maybe used one 5 times for an hour just to go swimming with my kids because I would do it for someone else. And so this same scenario was set up magically by the universe as well. Because if this was an activity for me, I would have just said, forget it. I don't have to have that activity. I don't have to do that. We will do something else instead. But this was something that my husband wanted to do. And so for him, I did it. So we went and I purchased the products and placed them where they needed to be. And then I was like, wait a second, that doesn't feel, I don't feel that revolting feeling that I normally feel. And then in that instant of that recognition, this whole download of knowledge and information came in, and I understood, which, like I said, seems so obvious now, but it really wasn't for my entire life. It was not obvious at all. But in that moment, I understood that the feeling that I was feeling was a feeling of being invaded, a feeling of something that didn't belong there. And so now it wasn't there. I didn't feel that. And I recognized that it's because it was from that assault, and that my body has healed that trauma. And I no longer reacted in my body like I did. So I was able to spend the whole week, like I said, we went quad riding, we went on a motorcycle all day. And for the first time in my life, I felt the freedom of being able to use a tampon. Like, wow, holy smokes, no kidding. Because my girlfriends over the years have been telling me, like, oh my God, girl, just wear one. Like, what are you doing with those ancient pads? But I just couldn't, because it made me feel so bad. It was such a yucky feeling. So, yeah. But now, instead of that, now I felt supported. I felt safe. I felt like I could do anything. Like, I felt that freedom that the commercials show you, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, so that was my experience. And of course, it lasted the entire week until we came home. The day after I got home, it all ended, and it was good. And I'm grateful that that's done. But wow, like, what an experience. Yeah. And then when I spoke to my angels after I got home, they said that I have completed that karmic cycle. So that's amazing. And there's a quad coming. Okay, the quad's gone by now. So yeah, so they said that I completed that karmic cycle. And you know, that's what we're doing right now. And that's why I wanted to share this story, because I wasn't going to share this story, but it hasn't gone away. Like, I decided, no, I'm not going to share this, but it's niggling and niggling and niggling. So when that happens, I know that's a nudge. And so I decided to share it, because maybe there's someone else who they're in completion of a karmic cycle, and somehow this story will help you. It doesn't have to be the same kind of situation as me. This can apply to any kind of karmic situation. But this is what we're doing right now. We are completing these cycles. And when we're done with all of our karmic cycles, then we're ready for this mass awakening. And that is going to be fantastic. Okay, thank you so much for listening. And I hope you have a fantastic day.